I never thought I'd be the person to destroy my own sister's marriage. But that Tuesday afternoon when I saw her husband's car parked outside that hotel, I knew I had to follow him. What I discovered wasn't just an affair. It was so much worse than that. And the woman he was with? I see her face every single day in the mirror. Let me explain. My name is Patricia, but everyone calls me Patty. I'm 52 years old, and my sister Laura is 48. We've always been close. The kind of close where we talk every single day, where we know each other's coffee orders by heart, where we can finish each other's sentences. Laura married her husband Marcus 12 years ago, and honestly, I never really liked him. I know that sounds terrible. Your sister marries someone, you're supposed to be happy for her. But something about Marcus always felt off to me. He was too smooth, too charming. The kind of guy who remembers everyone's birthday but somehow you still don't trust him. Laura loved him though. She absolutely adored this man. They couldn't have kids, which broke her heart. But Marcus always told her it didn't matter, that she was enough for him. And she believed him. I wanted to believe him too. 3 months ago, things started getting weird. Laura mentioned that Marcus was working late a lot, coming home smelling like perfume, being protective of his phone. All the classic signs, right? But Laura just brushed it off. She said he was stressed about work, that he'd always been private about his phone, that the perfume was probably from a coworker's hug. She made excuses for everything. I started paying closer attention. At family dinners, I'd watch how he interacted with her. He was affectionate, sure, but there was something missing. Some kind of spark that used to be there. He'd check his phone under the table. He'd excuse himself to take calls. Once I saw him texting someone with a smile on his face that I'd never seen him give my sister. That's when I decided to trust my gut. I know what you're thinking. Mind your own business, right? Stay out of their marriage. But this is my baby sister we're talking about. The same girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. The same woman who held my hand through my divorce 8 years ago. I couldn't just sit back and watch her get hurt. So I started following him. Not every day. I'm not a stalker. But once a week, I'd park near his office and just watch. See where he went after work. Most days he went straight home. But every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, he'd drive to the nice part of town. The part with the expensive hotels and fancy restaurants. And he'd park. And he'd wait. And then she'd show up. The first time I saw her, it was from far away. She was wearing a red coat, big sunglasses, her hair covered with a silk scarf. Very mystery woman. You know? She'd slip into his car and they'd drive off together. I followed them once to a hotel. The Riverside Inn. Not some cheap motel, but a nice place. The kind where they have a doorman and everything. They'd go inside together. And they wouldn't come out for at least 2 hours. I felt sick. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my steering wheel. This was real. Marcus was actually cheating on Laura. My sweet, trusting sister was being betrayed by the man she loved. But I needed proof. I needed to see his face. See them together. Maybe even get a photo. Because I knew Laura would never believe me without evidence. She'd defend him. Make excuses. I needed something concrete. I spent 2 weeks planning. I know that sounds calculated, but I had to be smart about this. I couldn't just burst in and cause a scene. I needed to time it perfectly. Catch them in a way that left no room for denial. The next Tuesday, I followed him again. Same routine. He parked outside the hotel at 3 p.m. She showed up 10 minutes later. Red coat, sunglasses, scarf, like she was trying to hide from someone. This time I didn't just watch from my car. I waited 15 minutes after they went inside. Then I followed them in. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in that lobby could hear it. The desk clerk smiled at me and I just smiled back, trying to look like I belonged there. I had watched which floor the elevator had stopped on. The 4th floor. So I went up. Standing in that hallway, I felt like I was in a bad movie. You know those scenes where someone's about to catch their partner cheating? That was me. Except this wasn't my partner. This was my sister's husband. And somehow that felt worse. I could hear voices behind one of the doors. Room 412. A woman's laugh. Light, airy. Then Marcus's voice lower, saying something I couldn't make out. More laughter. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably just 5 minutes. My phone was in my hand. I could call Laura right now. Get her down here. Let her see this for herself. But something stopped me. Maybe I wanted to confront him first. Maybe I wanted to see the woman's face. Maybe I just needed to be absolutely sure before I blew up my sister's entire life. I knocked on the door. The voices inside stopped immediately. Complete silence. I could picture them in there frozen, panicking. I knocked again. Housekeeping, I said. Then immediately felt stupid because it was 3 in the afternoon and I obviously wasn't housekeeping. More silence. Then footsteps. The lock clicking. The door opening just a crack. Marcus's face appeared in the gap. And when he saw me, all the color drained from his face. Patty, he said. Just my name. Nothing else. Like his brain had completely shut down. Open the door, Marcus. My voice was surprisingly steady. I felt anything but steady inside. My stomach was doing flips. My hands were sweating. But my voice? Ice cold. This isn't what it looks like, he started. And I almost laughed because that's what they all say, isn't it? Open the door, or I'm calling Laura right now. He opened the door slowly. The hotel room behind him was nice. King bed. City view. The kind of room you book for a romantic getaway. There was champagne on ice. 2 glasses. Soft music playing from someone's phone. And there, standing by the window, was the woman in the red coat. She had taken off her sunglasses. Taken off her scarf. Her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders. Dark brown, almost black. She was turned away from me, looking out the window, but I could see her reflection in the glass. Turn around, I said. Marcus stepped in front of me. Patty, please. Let me explain. Move, Marcus. I pushed past him. I wasn't a small woman, and he wasn't expecting it. I stumbled into the room, my eyes locked on the woman by the window. I said turn around, and she did. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. Because the face looking back at me wasn't some stranger. It wasn't Marcus's secretary or some random woman he'd met at a bar. It was my daughter. My daughter, Jessica. 27 years old. Living across town. Working as a nurse. My daughter, who I'd had lunch with 3 days ago. My daughter, who knew exactly what I thought about cheating after what her father did to me. My daughter was the woman my brother-in-law was sneaking around with. Mom, she said, and her voice was shaking. I looked at Marcus. At Jessica. Back at Marcus. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. This didn't make sense. None of this made any sense. What? I couldn't even form words. What is this? Jessica took a step toward me. Her hands out like she was approaching a wild animal. Mom, please. Let us explain. Explain. The word came out as a shriek. Explain what exactly? That you're sleeping with your aunt's husband? That you're destroying her marriage? Your own aunt, Jessica. I'm not sleeping with him. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Mom, it's not like that. Then what is it like? I looked around the room again. The champagne. The bed. The romantic music. Because it looks pretty damn clear to me. Marcus finally spoke up. She's telling the truth, Patty. We're not having an affair. Then why are you in a hotel room together? Why are you sneaking around? Why does my sister think you're at work when you're here with my daughter? Jessica wiped her eyes. Because I asked him to help me. Help you with what? Help you break up a marriage. No. She took a shaky breath. Help me find my father. The room went silent. Just those words hanging in the air. Find my father. But I knew who her father was. My ex-husband, Tom. The man who cheated on me with his assistant and then moved to Florida with her 8 years ago. The man who sent birthday cards twice a year and called on Christmas if he remembered. What are you talking about? I asked slowly. Jessica looked at Marcus, then back at me. Not Tom. My biological father. My knees went weak. I grabbed the edge of the desk to steady myself. What? I did one of those DNA tests 6 months ago, Jessica continued. Her words were coming out fast now, tumbling over each other. You know, the ancestry ones? Just for fun. To see where we came from. And the results came back and Tom wasn't listed as my father. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. At first I thought it was a mistake. A glitch or something. But then I got curious. I tested again with a different company. Same results. Tom isn't my biological father. She was looking at me now with this expression I'd never seen before. Hurt, confusion, betrayal. You lied to me my entire life. I didn't. But I couldn't finish the sentence. Because she was right. I had lied. For 27 years I had lied. I need to back up. I need to tell you something I've never told anyone. Something I buried so deep I almost convinced myself it never happened. 28 years ago, before I married Tom, I was with someone else. His name was David. We were together for 3 years. We were engaged. We were planning our whole future together. And then 2 months before our wedding, he died in a car accident. I was destroyed, completely broken, and I was pregnant. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even David. I was waiting until after the wedding. I wanted it to be a honeymoon surprise. But then he was gone and I was alone and I was carrying his baby. Tom came into my life a month later. We met at a coffee shop. He was kind to me at a time when I needed kindness. We started dating. It was too fast, I know that now. But I was grieving and scared and pregnant. I told Tom the baby was his. I was going to tell you, I said to Jessica, tears streaming down my face now. When you were older. When you could understand. But then years went by and you loved Tom and he loved you and it never seemed like the right time. You let me believe a man who barely calls me was my real father, Jessica said. Her voice was hard now. Angry. While my actual father was dead this whole time? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Who was he? She demanded. Who was my real father? His name was David Martinez. He was a good man. He would have loved you so much. Jessica pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. A DNA match. Is this him? I looked at the name on the screen. David Martinez. 68% DNA match. Immediate family. That's not him, I said, confused. That's too young to be David. He'd be 53 if he was alive. It's his brother, Jessica said. My uncle, apparently. He reached out to me through the DNA site. Said his brother David died in 1997. Said David had a girlfriend named Patricia who disappeared after the funeral. What does any of this have to do with Marcus? I asked. Jessica looked at Marcus, who had been standing silently this whole time. Marcus is a private investigator. What? I turned to him. You work in finance. That's my cover, Marcus said quietly. My day job. But I run a small PI business on the side. Have for about 5 years. Laura doesn't know. She thinks I'm just working late. My head was spinning. So you've been lying to Laura too? Yes, he admitted. And I hate it. But the business. It's good money. It's how I've been saving to surprise her with the trip to Italy she's always wanted. I was going to tell her everything once I had enough saved. He's been helping me find out more about David, Jessica continued. About my biological father. About that whole side of my family. The uncle, David's brother, he lives in Arizona. But there are cousins here. Relatives who knew David. Marcus has been helping me track them down. Reach out to them, get information. But why here? I gestured around the hotel room. Why the secrecy? Why not just tell me? Jessica's expression hardened again. Because I was angry at you, Mom. I am angry at you. You lied to me my entire life. You kept me from knowing my real father, my real family. I didn't want to tell you anything until I had all the facts. Until I understood everything. And the hotel? Neutral ground, Marcus explained. Jessica didn't want to meet at her place or mine. Didn't want any chance of you or Laura randomly showing up. We needed privacy to go through documents, make calls, plan how to contact relatives. The hotel just made sense. The champagne? I asked, pointing at the ice bucket. Jessica actually cracked a small smile. We found my grandmother, David's mother. She's still alive, living in a nursing home upstate. We were celebrating because she agreed to meet me next week. I sat down on the edge of the bed. My legs just gave out. Everything I thought I knew about the last hour, the last few weeks was completely wrong. This wasn't an affair. This was my daughter trying to find her identity, her history, the parts of herself I'd stolen from her. I'm sorry, I whispered. Jessica, I'm so sorry. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she sat down next to me. Not touching but close. I have a whole family out there I never knew about, she said softly. Aunts, uncles, cousins, a grandmother. And they all knew about me. Did you know that? I looked up. What? David told his family about me. Well, about you being pregnant. Before he died. His brother said David was over the moon about becoming a father. He'd already picked out names. Already bought a crib. And then after the accident, his family tried to find you. They wanted to be in my life. They wanted to help. But you were gone. You'd moved. Changed your number. They had no way to reach you. The guilt hit me like a truck. I'd been so wrapped up in my own grief, my own fear, that I'd never thought about David's family. Never considered that they might want to know their brother's child. Their grandchild. Their niece. They've been looking for me? I asked. Jessica nodded. For 27 years. Every few years, David's brother would search for you online. Try different databases. Hire investigators. But Patricia Thompson is a common name, and you married Tom and became Patricia Anderson. You disappeared completely. Until you showed up in the DNA database, Marcus added. Well, your daughter did. And suddenly, after almost 3 decades, they found you. I put my head in my hands. Oh God, what have I done? We need to tell Laura, I said suddenly, looking at Marcus. She can't keep thinking you're having an affair. She doesn't think I'm having an affair, Marcus said. What? But the late nights, the secrecy. She thinks I'm planning a surprise for our anniversary, which technically I am. The Italy trip. She's been dropping hints about wanting to travel, so she just assumes I'm working extra hours to save money, which is partly true. But you're lying to her, I pointed out. Marcus's face fell. I know, and I hate it. This whole thing with Jessica helping her, it started small, just looking up a few records, making some calls, but then it got bigger. We found more family members, more information, and I got in deeper and deeper. And I kept telling myself I'd tell Laura soon, but you didn't, I finished. No, I didn't. Jessica stood up. We're telling her tonight. Both of us. She looked at Marcus. You need to come clean about the PI business. And Mom. She turned to me. You need to tell her everything. About David. About lying to me. All of it. She's going to hate me, I whispered. Maybe, Jessica said bluntly. But she deserves the truth. Just like I deserved the truth 27 years ago. She wasn't wrong. Laura needed to know. Not just about Marcus's secret business, but about my secret too. About the lies I'd been carrying for nearly 3 decades. Okay, I agreed. Tonight. Marcus nodded. Tonight. We all showed up at Laura's house at 6 o'clock. She opened the door and immediately knew something was wrong. You don't have your sister, your husband, and your niece show up unannounced looking serious unless something is very wrong. Is someone dead? Were her first words. No, I said quickly. But we need to talk. All of us. She let us in, her eyes darting between the 3 of us, trying to figure out what was happening. We sat in her living room, the same living room where we'd celebrated Christmases and birthdays and game nights, where everything had always felt safe and normal. Marcus spoke first. I haven't been honest with you about where I go on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Laura's face went pale. Oh God. It's not an affair, he said quickly. I swear to you I would never. But I have been keeping something from you. I run a private investigation business. Small cases, background checks, finding people. I started it 5 years ago for extra money. I've been saving for that Italy trip you keep talking about. I wanted to surprise you. Laura just stared at him. You're a private investigator? Part-time, yes. And you've been hiding this for 5 years? Yes. She looked at me. Did you know? No, I said honestly. I found out an hour ago. I thought he was cheating on you. So did I, Laura admitted quietly. She looked back at Marcus. The perfume? The late nights? The secrecy? Stakeouts sometimes, Marcus explained. Meeting clients. The perfume was from a client who hugged me after I found her missing daughter. I should have told you. I should have been honest from the start. I'm sorry. Laura was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "We'll talk about this later." Alone. She looked at Jessica and me. "But I don't think you're both here just for that. What else?" This was it. My turn. I took a deep breath. 28 years ago, before I married Tom, I was engaged to someone else. His name was David Martinez. He died in a car accident 2 months before our wedding. I was pregnant with his baby. Laura's eyes went wide. She looked at Jessica. "Jessica isn't Tom's biological daughter," I continued. "She's David's. I lied to Tom. I lied to Jessica. I lied to everyone. And 6 months ago, Jessica found out through a DNA test." "Oh my God," Laura breathed. "David's family has been looking for her for 27 years, I said. "They want to meet her. They want her in their lives. And Marcus has been helping her find them. That's what the hotel meetings were. That's why they were sneaking around. Jessica was angry at me. She is angry at me. And she didn't want to tell me what she was doing until she had all the information." Laura looked at each of us in turn. Her husband, who'd been lying about his secret business. Her sister, who'd been lying about her daughter's paternity for nearly 3 decades. Her niece, who'd been investigating her own family history in secret. "This is insane," she finally said. "This is absolutely insane." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I lied. I was young and scared and grieving, and I made a terrible choice. And then that choice became a lie that lasted Jessica's entire life." "Does Tom know?" Laura asked. "No," Jessica answered. "I haven't told him. I don't know if I will. He raised me, even if he wasn't a great father later on. I don't know what I owe him." Laura stood up and paced to the window. We all sat in silence, waiting for her to process everything. Finally, she turned back to us. "Marcus, you and I are going to have a very long conversation about trust and honesty in this marriage. You don't get to keep secrets that big from me, even if they're for a good reason. Understood?" Marcus nodded. "Understood." Then she looked at me. "Patty, what you did was wrong. Lying to Jessica about her father, keeping her from his family, that was wrong. But I also understand why you did it. You were traumatized and alone and trying to survive. That doesn't make it right, but it makes it human." Tears were rolling down my cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I know you are. But I'm not the one you need to apologize to." She looked at Jessica. "How are you doing with all this?" Jessica shrugged. "I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm about to meet a grandmother I never knew existed. I have a whole family tree I knew nothing about. And I'm trying to figure out who I am now that I know my entire origin story was a lie." "That's fair," Laura said. She sat down next to Jessica and took her hand. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry too. Sorry you're going through this. Sorry the adults in your life kept such big secrets. You deserved better." "I want to meet them," Laura announced suddenly. We all looked at her. "David's family," she clarified. "I want to meet them. When you go to meet your grandmother, Jessica, I'm coming with you. If that's okay." Jessica looked surprised. "You want to come? You're my niece. This is a big moment for you. You shouldn't have to do it alone." And honestly, Laura looked at me. "I'm curious about the man who came before Tom. The man my sister loved enough to grieve for 28 years. Fresh tears came. 'Cause Laura was right. I had been grieving David for 28 years. I'd buried it, hidden it, pretended it didn't exist. But it was always there. The loss. The what could have been. "I'd like that," Jessica said softly. "I'd like you there." "I'll come too," I said. "If you'll let me." Jessica looked at me for a long moment. "You can come. But we're also going to therapy. Together. We have a lot to work through." "Whatever you need," I agreed. "Whatever it takes." Marcus cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. About David's family." We all looked at him. "In my investigation, I found out something interesting. David had life insurance. A policy worth $200,000. He never changed the beneficiary after he proposed to you, Patty. It was supposed to go to his parents. But when he died and they couldn't find you or the baby, the money went into a trust. A trust specifically for any children David might have had." Jessica went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying there's $200,000 sitting in a trust fund with your name on it. Well, with baby Martinez on it. But your baby Martinez. The trust lawyer I spoke to said once we provide the DNA evidence and death certificates, the money is yours. It's been sitting there collecting interest for 27 years. The room was silent. Jessica looked like she might faint. My father. My biological father left me money? He didn't know he was leaving it, Marcus said gently. But yes, he had a life insurance policy that now belongs to you. That's over $400,000 with 27 years of interest, Laura said, always the quick one with numbers. Jessica put her hand over her mouth. Oh my God. He wanted you taken care of, I said quietly. Even though he never got to meet you, he made sure you'd be taken care of. Jessica started crying. Real heart sobs. Laura wrapped her arms around her, and I joined them, the three of us holding each other in Laura's living room while Marcus looked on. He loved me, Jessica said through her tears. He never even met me, and he loved me. Of course he did, I said. He was so excited when I told him I was pregnant. He called you his little miracle. He would have been an amazing father. We stayed at Laura's house until almost midnight, talking through everything, making plans, setting boundaries, working through the mess we'd all created. Marcus promised to tell Laura everything about his PI business. Every case, every client, every late night. They decided he'd close the business once he finished helping Jessica, and they'd go to Italy next summer with the money he'd already saved. I promised to tell Jessica everything about David. Every memory, every story, every detail I could remember. I'd kept him locked away for so long, but it was time to let her know her father. And Jessica promised to let us be part of her journey meeting David's family. She was still angry at me, and she had every right to be. But she was willing to try to forgive, to heal, to move forward. 2 weeks later, we drove upstate to meet David's mother, Maria. She was 82 years old, living in a nice nursing home with a view of the mountains. Marcus had called ahead, explained everything, sent the DNA results. When we walked into her room, she took one look at Jessica and burst into tears. You have his eyes, she said. David's eyes. Jessica crossed the room and hugged her grandmother for the first time. This woman who'd been looking for her for 27 years. This woman who'd lost her son but now had a piece of him back. Maria looked at me over Jessica's shoulder. I braced myself for anger, for accusations, for blame. But instead she reached out her hand. Thank you, she said, for taking care of her, for keeping David's child safe. I wish I could have been there, but thank you for doing it alone. I took her hand and cried. That was 6 months ago. A lot has changed since then. Jessica is now in regular contact with David's family. She has dinner with her uncle every Sunday. She visits Maria twice a month. She's even planning a trip to meet cousins in California next spring. She and I are in therapy together, working through the lies and the hurt. It's slow. It's hard. But we're making progress. Some days she can barely look at me. Other days she'll call me just to talk like she used to. We're healing. Marcus quit his PI business and told Laura everything. They're stronger now than they've been in years. Turns out honesty really does make a difference. They're leaving for Italy next month. Laura and I are okay too. She understood why I did what I did, even if she didn't agree with it. She's been my rock through all of this like she always has been. As for me, I've been grieving David properly for the first time in 28 years. Talking about him, remembering him, letting Jessica see the man who would have been her father. So yeah, I caught my sister's husband in a hotel room with another woman. And that woman was my daughter. But it wasn't an affair. It was something so much more complicated and painful and beautiful than that. It was the truth finally coming out after 28 years of hiding. It was my daughter finding the family I'd stolen from her. It was all of us learning that secrets, no matter how well-intentioned, always come out eventually. And when they do, they either destroy you or they set you free. For us, they're setting us free. Jessica called me yesterday. She was at the cemetery, visiting David's grave for the first time. She said she told him about her life, about becoming a nurse, about the family she's found, about me and the lies and the complicated mess of it all. And then she said something that made me cry. She said, I told him I wish I could have known him, but I'm grateful I got to know you. I'm not perfect. I made massive mistakes. I lied to my daughter for 27 years. But maybe, just maybe, we're going to be okay. That's my story. That's what really happened the day I caught my sister's husband cheating. Except he wasn't cheating. He was helping my daughter find herself. And sometimes the truth is stranger, and more painful, and more beautiful than any lie we could ever tell.